In this video, we have some confirmed Autopia news we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about this IP carousel, okay, over at Walt Disney World. We're also going to talk about the Donkey Kong coaster being delayed for Universal Japan. We have a lot to discuss today on this episode of OG 55. Yo, what is going on, everybody, today? Welcome to OG 55. I got the Italiano with me today. Mr. Italiano, how are you today, sir?
I'm doing well. And yeah, at the time of this recording, this will be my last recording for right now, about like 10 days, because I'll be heading out west to California, to Disneyland and Universal Hollywood.
He is going to California.
Now let me welcome everybody to the Wild Wild West.
There we go, California. Yeah, so we do have some stuff pre-recorded that will be kind of, through the weekend. But yeah, George will be out on vacation for about 10 days. So I'll be holding down the fort while he's gone. But don't despair. We do have some more George content in the coming days. We recorded a few things, so look out for that. But George, you ready to dive into Autopia?
Let's do it.
Let's rock and roll. Okay, so here we go. So this is interesting news. Now, we talked about this, what was it, maybe about a week ago, maybe 10 days ago or something, where Disney was saying they were looking into it, right? It wasn't really committal. It was kind of like, okay, we're evaluating the situation. But look, we have this kind of this deadline for the state of California with small engines where they're not going to be selling small gas engines anymore. So eventually Disney was going to have to do this, or they were going to have to get rid of Autopia altogether, right? So it looks like it's been finally confirmed. It says here, this is from the LA Times, Disneyland just promised electric cars at Autopia. Gas will be gone by 2026. It is confirmed. So my dreams have crashed and burned of Avatar going in the spot, because I think that would have been amazing. But it looks like Autopia is staying for the time being, and probably a long time. It says here, when the Walt Disney Company announced earlier this month that it would, at long last, ditch the smog-spewing gasoline engines at its beloved Autopia attraction in Anaheim, the company left a few key details to the imagination. Okay, would the ride vehicles be purely electric, or would they be hybrids that still burn some climate-wrecking oil-based fuel? And how long would it take for Walt Disney's creative and engineering heirs to make the long overdue switch? So it looks like, it says here, in a written statement, Disneyland spokesperson Jessica Good confirmed to the LA Times that electrification, quote, means fully electric. It does not mean hybrid or any other version of a gasoline combustion engine, end quote. She added that the theme park will no longer be using the current engines within the next 30 months. What are your thoughts on this, George? I mean, they're going fully electric. This is gonna be very, very different for Autopia.
And I think it's quite interesting too, the time frame for all this, because as you mentioned, like it hasn't been that long when Disney made the statement that they said that they were just looking into it. They haven't been fully committed to this change, but being that in 2030, in the state of California, they have to change some of the policies, so we're looking into it. But several weeks later, it's like they made that decision quite quickly. And I wonder if that is because of the outcome of Disneyland Forward.
I was just going to say that. You're probably right. Maybe this area was considered a backup area for, who knows, maybe Pandora or something else. So they figured, we'll see how Disneyland Forward pans out. If that doesn't go through, we can kind of reconsider this area, right? Well, writing was kind of on the wall. They knew that Disneyland Forward was going to get passed unanimously, I'm sure. It's like Congress, right? These Democrats and Republicans know what the votes are going to be before they even vote. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm sure Disney knew the outcome of this, so they were confident enough, and they said, okay, we don't really need this area anymore. So we're going to basically band-aid Autopia, which is what I think it is. It's a band-aid, and give them electric cars. But here's the issue with electric cars for Autopia. It changes the whole energy and the whole vibe of that attraction. I mean, the whole vibe of Autopia is hearing the engines and
it's basically going to be like a silent movie.
Yeah, it's going to feel weird. Just these cars going around the track. I don't know. Autopia to me is loud. Autopia to me smells like gasoline, and you know, that whole thing is going to change. It's like going on Pirates of the Caribbean and not smelling the pirate water.
Now, are they? I mean, obviously they didn't make any, you know, confirmed details on this, but it makes me wonder, are they going to keep the same kind of track layout? Are they keeping the cars on the, like the rail, so to speak, or is this going to be kind of like a go-kart kind of thing where you can kind of like maneuver it to your own?
It doesn't say. It just says here though, quote, reimagining an attraction does take time. So we don't have a reopening date at this time, end quote. And that was what Jessica Good.
Now that's quite interesting because they're titling it as reimagining. So, I mean, that to me, reimagining means something more than just replacing the cars.
To me too. I mean, that does kind of seem like it's a little bit more. This is the problem with Disney a lot of times are these word games though. We spent, almost 2 years on what experience means for Avatar. Remember that? And it ended up just being a land, you know? So who knows? She might just mean they're reimagining because now it's electric. But if it's more than that, that's interesting. Are they going to shorten the track? Are they going to elevate the track? You know, get it off the ground maybe? I mean, that's interesting. I mean, I would hope they really go in, as you say, balls to the wall and really actually reimagine this thing and make it more impressive than what it currently is. And
I tell you, this attraction has 9 lives, like all around. Even the Speedway down at Walt Disney World, everyone thought that the Speedway was on the chopping block when Tron was coming into the picture,
right?
And sure enough, nope, they just chopped a little bit off at the top, and we still have the Speedway while we still have Tron. So it does make me wonder, you know, obviously that they're keeping Autopia, but is it going to be a different formality, so to speak, than the original?
Even if they don't change the track, even if it's just electric, that changes the whole energy of the attraction, in my opinion. Having it silent, basically going around the track silently like that, and having the smells gone. I know the smells aren't healthy. I know they're not necessarily good for you, but that was part of Autopia. That was the part of the DNA of that attraction. And you're completely changing that when you don't have that anymore.
So this begs the question, and I ask you, is this a sign of a new Tomorrowland, or is this the complete opposite where, no, they're not even going to touch Tomorrowland, but we'll just like kind of hype up Autopia for right now?
If they reimagine it, and they really actually mean reimagining it, like changing the ride significantly, like elevating the track, doing significant changes to the layout, anything like that, then yes, this points to a new Tomorrowland. Absolutely. If it's just putting new cars in there with batteries, basically, you know, electric car batteries, no, it's a Band-Aid, in my opinion. If it's just the cars and that's it, it's a Band-Aid. They know they have to do it by a certain year per California law, and they're just kind of going through the motions, and they don't have anything else planned for that spot yet. So we're just going to go ahead with the electric cars. I'm leaning towards the latter. I'm leaning towards it being a Band-Aid. They know they have to get it done. They don't have anything else really for that spot because everything else that they probably have in the pipeline right now is all connected to Disneyland Forward. And this is kind of a Band-Aid that they kind of have to do in the meantime. So we'll see. What do you think?
Yeah, I think based off of what needs to be done by 2030, they don't want to take any chances that they're going to be left with dealing with something like that at the last minute, based off of what we had talked about a few minutes ago with, you know, Disneyland Forward moving forward. You know, that changes the gameplay of possibly what they might have had considered as like an option B for maybe Pandora or something else to go in that area when Scott Trowbridge put out his little video. I don't know if it was on Instagram or Twitter. I
think it was Twitter. He might have posted on Insta too, but I don't remember Instagram. I'm kind of new to Instagram, so
yeah.
But it was definitely on Twitter.
Okay, so yeah, where he kind of filmed that little section of the motorboat area and the subs and what have you, where you could see part of the monorail track, that they said, the reimagining maybe something in the future that possibly could have been for Pandora, but because with Disneyland Forward and now kind of, moving along, being greenlit, that now, as Ken Potrock had kind of made the notion at the meeting that, Disneyland Forward will depict how big of a scope that this Pandora project is going to be. So being that it's moving forward, they're going to do it in a big way. Obviously, they're not going to do it in the area that we predicted it was going to be. And it's like, well, we have to do something about the cars anyway by 2030. So obviously whatever we have planned, it's not in the pipeline, as you had mentioned. So let's just change the cars for right now. So yeah, I do agree. It's band-aiding the notion of just kind of holding Tomorrowland off again.
No, yeah, absolutely. We can tell what, like with the rumor mill and what we're hearing from Disney and kind of splicing things together, we can tell what's the priority right now. Exactly. The priority is Avatar. Absolutely. I think even Potrock even said that, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, he used the term like one of like the main focuses right now. Right.
Exactly. That's a priority. I think that Avengers e-ticket, from what I'm hearing, is one of the priorities. Some of these other things that they want to do with Disneyland Forward, whatever land, whether it be Frozen or something else, is a priority. I don't think Tomorrowland's really on that short list right now. And there's really no motivation for Disney to kind of dive into Tomorrowland, because Tomorrowland has an aesthetics problem more than it does a substance problem. I get it. Star Wars Launch Bay is empty. I get it. The People Mover track. But aside from that, pretty much, it's pretty much a successful land in terms of, like, you have Space Mountain, you have Star Tours, you have Buzz Lightyear. These are all very popular attractions still. People are that land is always very crowded. So it's a cosmetic thing. And I know as fans, we want that. We want a cohesive, really dope looking Tomorrowland. But from Disney's perspective, when they can go across the way and build a Zootopia and get that sweet merch money, and specialty drinks and all that stuff, they're going to do that first. They're going to do the Frozen thing first. They're going to do all that stuff before they dive into cosmetically enhancing.
Because I think if Disney really wanted to, they would get rid of Autopia in a heartbeat, because it's not bringing no cash flow as far as merch wise. It has no IP attached to it. It's just they're focusing on it right now. It's because the hand given to them is they have to.
If you were to, hypothetically, I'm just saying hypothetically, this, obviously we know this isn't going to happen, but if hypothetically, did I say hypothetically? No. Hypothetically, if they were to say replace Autopia and that whole motorboat area with Zootopia, let's just say, right? Let's just play with this. You are creating a total cash cow. No pun intended, cash cow. Moo. You are creating a total cash cow, because now you can sell Zootopia merch. I mean,
so basically, you're saying that land would be the GOAT.
Yeah, it'd be the GOAT. Exactly. The GOAT. Exactly. But so you would basically be selling a ton of merch. I'm sure the Judy Hopps ears that we see in Shanghai and stuff like that.
The gazelle antlers and everything. Yeah,
exactly. That would sell like hotcakes, like crazy good, right? Then you can even sell, now that we have alcohol at Disneyland, you can sell themed cocktails themed to various, animals or whatever. It's a mint they can make on that, right? You're not getting that with Autopia. Autopia is not a merch machine. No one really cares about buying an Autopia shirt. Do they even sell Autopia shirts? I don't even know. But they're not. It's not making the money that a Zootopia land would on merch, or a Frozen, or any of this stuff. So I agree with you, George. I think Disney wants to move away from Autopia, but it's the problem too is that all those attractions are woven and weaved together. You have the submarines, the People Mover, the monorail track, all this stuff kind of tied in that spaghetti bowl. So whatever they put in there, it's going to be very expensive just to get the land freed up. So it's a tough call, but it looks like Autopia is here to stay.
And I have another question for you, because this was something I wanted to bring up at the time when we were recording with Mr. Webba on the Disneyland Forward console meeting, which I ended up forgetting, but I ended up asking him this after the fact we were recorded. that we recorded, excuse me. And I think it's quite interesting too that they said it would take about like 4 to 5 years to whatever that they have planned in this moment. And then I asked Mike, I said, when is something going on in 2028? Because I thought that something with the Olympics was going on. Right. And then when we looked it up, sure enough, it is the summer 2028 Olympics. So around that time, I'm wondering, like after the fact of 2026 with the Autopia cars, possibly Pandora could be up and running by that time. So I wonder if if Disney is kind of eyeing like 2028 as being the spotlight year. It
could. My only thing with that though is a pot rock is correct. It usually takes about 3 or 4 years. Like if we look at the announcement for Galaxy's Edge to the opening date in 2019, it was 4 years, right? Mm-hmm. The only difference here, though, with Disneyland Forward is they have to build the infrastructure before they can get rid of some of these parking lots. So they can't build on, like, say, Simba Lot until they build that Easter Gateway parking situation. So the parking situation, I think Dave from Fresh Baked was saying that could take 1.5 years, 2 years, because that's about how long it took for the Pixar Pal thing. So I'm thinking Avatar, if they do the parking structure and then jump right into Avatar, you're looking more probably like 2030, in my opinion. And I could be wrong, but we'll see, it really all depends, but interesting stuff, man. I'm telling you, dude, we are eating well as Disney fans. We are eating so good lately.
We are.
The park stuff has been absolutely crazy, especially here at, I was going to say, especially at Disneyland, but really not even just Disneyland. We're going to talk about Walt Disney World right now. And there's actually a lot of stuff going on over there as well. So this is from Mickey Views, exclusive IP carousel in development for tropical Americas at Disney's Animal Kingdom. It says here, previously, Mickey Views has reported that Disney was developing a Coco-themed carousel for Animal Kingdom as part of the Tropical Americas land. The Tropical Americas area will serve as Disney's reimagining of Dinoland USA. He goes on to continue. Strangely, Coco was not mentioned alongside Indiana Jones and Encanto in last year's D23 presentation of the Dinoland overhaul. However, in a recent interview with Entertainment Weekly, Parks Chairman Josh Giamaro said the land would feature Encanto and Coco themed attractions. Okay, then he goes on to say real quick, and then we're going to talk about this. However, the latest concept art of the attraction made available to Mickey Views suggests there is another plan in the works. It says here, the IP carousel, as Mickey Views is kind of dubbing this thing, potentially coming to Animal Kingdom, will feature around 30 animals guests will be able to ride. Each of these animals is a character from a different animated film. Visible in the art is a guest riding Nemo, another riding Pua from Moana, and one riding Kevin from Up, and yet another riding Simba from The Lion King. What are your thoughts on this? Going from a Coco carousel to kind of like, it's still animal themed, but it's just from all the different movies. So
this attraction for me kind of confused me from the get, to be honest with you. Just to the notion of even Coco going into Animal Kingdom. I know a lot of people can say, why is Encanto going into Animal Kingdom? Why is Indiana Jones going into Animal Kingdom? And it's like, I could still somewhat see where they can kind of fit that into Animal Kingdom. I guess with Coco, you can kind of have like the fictitious animals that's, in the land of the dead, so to speak, that they can utilize. But I still think, honestly, with a beautiful and brilliant film that Coco is, just to give it a carousel is a disgrace.
It's a disgrace. It's malpractice, dude. It really is. You got to give Coco a big, elaborate, dark ride with these beautiful set pieces and the music. And then outside, you can have, like I said so many times, you can have the outdoor vendors with the smell of the food when you walk up to the attraction. That's what Coco deserves. A carousel, pretty weak. It's pretty weak.
Yeah. So, I mean, I do like that if that is the case, that they are removing Coco from the carousel. I'm all for it, because I still truly believe, and a lot of other people believe, that Coco is still going to be part of the Beyond Big Thunder project over at Magic Kingdom. And I think that would do very well. Even though that it is Pixar, I feel like Coco still can kind of give off that Beyond Big Thunder feel. You know, you go into like the little Mexican town and everything, as you had mentioned, like with the vendor carts and everything, the smell of the Mexican food and the Hispanic heritage and everything, on top of a great like e-ticket dark ride. I think that would be phenomenal. As far as with the carousel goes, I mean, I guess they couldn't really think that if this does go through, of like which films that they can kind of fit in for different animals. So they're like, you know what, let's just throw them all in together. Let's do Finding Nemo, let's do Moana, let's do Up, let's do Little Mermaid, you know, because I believe, even though they didn't mention it, I think Flounder is in there somewhere as well. I'm not 100% sure. But I mean, I can see that, but it still seems kind of random just to have all these animals just kind of sitting, because you can't then call that, but I guess in the tropical Americas, but are all those animals part? I can understand Up.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
You know, I could definitely see Up. Nemo, I mean, that's part of like in the Australian, you know, and then Simba in Africa. So it just kind of throws it off a little bit. Me personally, I would have just 86 the carousel, to be honest with you. And I would have just did something just with Up, because at least Up can signify the tropical Americas theme, because the movie of Paradise Falls was set in South America.
Exactly. Why not just make it, either get rid of the carousel, make an Up dark ride or something like that, cute for kids, right? Or even just make it an Up carousel. Yeah. Then it matches both, because you have Kevin and the animals, but then you also have, that's his name, right? The big ostrich
Kevin.
Kevin. Yeah.
It's
the big ostrich looking thing. You know,
just Kevin. The thing.
Yeah, that thing. Yeah, that thing. You know, the tall thing. But you could have him, and then it like you said, it takes place in that region of the world. So honestly, that makes the most sense. But yeah, this is okay. I mean, you know, it's okay. I mean, it looks a lot better than what's there now. I'll tell you that much. I think Dino Land is a huge eyesore.
I mean, I'm still a little bit confused on the whole process of this, and this may even change even before D23 when they make that final announcement. But I think, if I had to pick and choose, I would take that way over Coco, because Coco deserves something much more than just a carousel.
Completely agree. Completely agree. We're going to go all the way right now to Japan. We got our last and final story of the day. This comes from Universal Studios Japan. It says here, notice of opening date change for Donkey Kong Country. This is dated today. Universal Studios Japan announces that the opening of Donkey Kong Country, an expansion area of Super Nintendo World previously stated for the spring of 2024, will be changed to the second half of 2024. Although the development work of this expansion area is in the final stages of completion, Universal Japan would like to ensure a positive experience for our guests and has determined the additional time is needed for the final period of preparations and adjustments. Interesting. We will announce a definitive date for opening as soon as it is determined, and we sincerely apologize for guests who have been eagerly awaiting the opening of the Super Nintendo World expansion. So it's interesting that, okay, so in that middle paragraph, it says that they want to ensure a positive experience for our guests, and they determine that additional time is needed for the final period of preparations and adjustments. So they're kind of saying in that paragraph right there that they are having some issues, and they need a longer time to tweak stuff, is what it seems like, you know, from what they're saying there. It seems like there's some kinks that they need to work out, and they're just going to need more time to do it. Is that kind of how you're reading it?
That's how I read it. Especially like, I like how they kind of word it, where it's like they just won't like necessarily come out and say, you know, we're having technical issues. So yeah, they use like those key words of preparations and adjustments, which means they have to do some tweaking to the ride itself. But it makes me, I don't want to say concerned, but it makes me curious to know that if this is basically going to be a mirror image of what's going into Epic Universe, are they going to have the same issues that Japan is going through? Or is this just a fly-by-night kind of thing, that this is just Japan's problem?
Yeah, that's interesting, you know, because look, we had Rise of the Resistance out here, you know, and out there in Florida, right? Mm-hmm. And both of those attractions, because of the way it was designed, had issues initially, if you remember. So It's possible that the one in Epic Universe is going to have whatever issue they're having with this one, that Epic Universe would have that same issue as well. But the thing too is Epic Universe doesn't open for a lot longer, so they have more time. They can figure it out with this one and then adjust it for the other one. I think Epic will probably be fine because there's just such there's a significant amount of time, but you know, from now to when that one opens, I think they can get those kinks out. But I'm curious because, and look, it's an innovative coaster. This isn't like, you know, we've been very critical on this channel, like Isle of Berk, dude. Like we talked about it, right? It's very standard. The attractions, like that one that spins you like this in the air, is like what you see like at Knott's and stuff like that. Nothing super crazy, right? But this Donkey Kong coaster, to Universal's credit, is very innovative and very different, and the ride system is one of a kind, right? So when you do stuff and you try new things, you push the envelope, you're going to have more kinks and more problems. And apparently they are. But hey, look, you know what? Honestly, I'd rather Disney and Universal try and swing for the fences and try new things and have issues and have delays because they're trying something different and mind-blowing than just do the standard safe shit that you see with a lot of other stuff. So I commend Universal for we've been saying the whole time, Donkey Kong is going to be the star of that park. It's going to be the absolute star of the show. And now here's the thing too. Fans get really wrapped up in opening dates, and I don't know why. Fans get really wrapped up in opening dates. I don't care about opening dates. To each their own. Everyone, their mileage varies. I don't care about opening dates. I don't care about movies that are delayed. And even the cinema, like the movie fandom, they get all worked up about, when's it going to open? Oh, there's a delay. I don't care about any of that stuff. If the movie's going to get released or the theme park stuff is going to open, take as long as you need to get it correct. That's kind of my mindset. But do you care about opening dates, George, or is it kind of like?
The only way that I would care about opening dates, if I was to go for a opening date, which I rarely do because it gets so hectic and crazy. But just for the sake of it, that if I was planning a trip around something that was going to be opened, maybe not necessarily for the opening date, but just be open during the time that I'm there. But because of the premiere, it got delayed, then it would kind of hinder my trip of having it open. That would be the only thing. But it's not like it would, if it was like a small amount of time, if I had the time, I would move my trip back a little bit. If not, and it took a longer delay, I would still go on my trip and have a great time. I do remember the one premiere that I did go to was for Mission Breakout. And that was a crazy day. That was a crazy day. And yet everyone, was saying Disney was blasphemy for getting rid of Tower of Terror and turning it into Guardians of the Galaxy, but yet they had to take us through the backstage area just to get fast passes.
Well, I'm telling you, all the complaining, I remember that. And that was actually my first video on this channel, was defending Mission Breakout. I said, wait until it opens or whatever. And people were slamming this thing like almost as bad as Tiana's. Like Tiana's has gotten a lot of shit, right? But Tiana's is a little different because it's like a culture war thing and there's all this political stuff attached to that. But with Mission Breakout, it's the same level of anger though, I think, or maybe a little less. But it was like, oh my gosh, how could they do this? It was like 6, 7, 8 months of that. And then it opens and all the haters were quiet, man. You could hear a mouse pee on a cotton ball. The haters were like, whoop. There was nobody said a word, man. This thing, Joe Rohde delivered. He absolutely delivered. You know what I'm saying?
He did. And yet those people, the naysayers and the haters, those were probably the first ones in line to ride the thing.
It's always the case, bro. It's always the case.
But I going back to Donkey Kong, but I do find it quite interesting that, yes, I do commend Universal for wanting to take the time to fix the issues than to half-ass it and rush it and open it. But it does make me question the fact of the time frame, that it's, instead of it being the beginning of 2024, it's going to be the end of 2024. That's a huge amount of time for a coaster of this manner. So something has to be showing that's just not working, that has to take that extensive amount of time. And that kind of Now that part makes me concerned as far as for Epic University. I still can't get that name. I'm like tongue tied with that title.
Yeah.
For Epic Universe, because are those the signs that if these issues are happening while they're building the attraction, is this going to be another kind of rise where it's like the more that they have this ride operational, because it's going to be so popular, it's going to have a lot of malfunctions and breakdowns?
Hopefully not. Yeah, hopefully not. Because you're right. There is a long time from spring until like, it says spring 2024, right?
Right.
And then now it's to be the end of 2024. So you're talking what, like 6 months maybe or something? Or more?
Or more, yeah.
I mean, that's a long time, so there must be something fairly significant that's holding this thing up. They're really over a barrel. I don't know. The whole thing is just bananas, bro. The whole thing is just banana.
They gotta get to work and stop monkeying around.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, we'll see though. It's an exciting attraction, at least in concept. We'll see how it is in execution, and hopefully they can get everything worked out, and it'll open soon. Well, as soon as they can.
Yes.
But the Italiano, I appreciate you coming on, talking shop with me. If you could let everybody at home know where they could find you on social media, sir.
Absolutely. You can find me on X, formerly known as Twitter, at Disney George. You could also find me on Instagram under the Disney Italiano. And of course, you'll find me here on my home base at Orange Grove 55 with Citrus Corner, with all that sweet, juicy, but sometimes sticky Disney news and info. And as I said at the beginning of this video, I will be out in California for Disneyland and Universal Hollywood. If you are in the area, if you happen to see me, please stop, say hello. I love the interaction. I love the conversation. So, and it's going to be a good time. I also get to hang out with this guy for some time too. It's always a good time.
Always a good time. Always a good time. And for those of you at home, just know that we do have a few more days, because we recorded stuff, prior, a few more days of Italiano content. But after come probably Monday, it's going to be Italiano-less. Yes. but the show goes on. I'm going to be doing videos with, like Slimer and Seymour, and I'm sure Michael Webba and stuff like that. So we're going to still have content and everything. It just, unfortunately, George won't be with us for a little while. But when he comes back, boom, we're going to hit the ground running.
Balls to the wall, baby, because, especially when I come back, May 7th will be right around the corner for the quarterly earnings and then the final vote for Disneyland Forward. So that's going to be very interesting. That's going to be a very interesting day.
Yeah, it's going to be crazy. Absolutely. So, yeah, thank you all so much for watching this episode of OG55. We'll end the show like we always end the show with the lovely and beautiful Yunjin of La Seraphim. Everybody, have a great day.
세상이 누구에게나 공평하게 추악해.